All right, so we're live. We're live with Salient Points. You know, it's Super Bowl Sunday, Dalan, and I guess we're gonna have to catch up on the game. This is how you know we're not serious football fans, right? The game is on right now, and we're not watching it. We'll catch it on a tape delay. We'll catch it on a tape delay. It looks like it's entertaining so far. But anyways, this is Salient.
Actually, I had a conversation at work with one of my customers about Super Bowl Sunday.
Hey, they're
and he
ready.
was asking me who I was hoping would win. Carlos, who do you hope will win?
I think I'd like the Eagles to win because the Patriots, they're always there. They got Tom Brady, they got the secret weapon. So the Eagles, and so far the Eagles are winning, but there's still like about 3.5 quarters left. So anything can happen, man. Anything can happen. So
I'm
we'll see.
over here for the Patriots. I'm down to see them win. I like the winning part of it sometimes. I mean,
I'm always for
my
the
team
underdog.
personally is not. Yeah, I know you're always for the underdog. My team is not even going to be on the list, so I'm not worried about who actually wins.
So welcome. So welcome to Salient Points 20. I'm your host, Carlos Macias, along with co-host over there on the other side,
Dalan Kirkwood.
Nice to see you again, Dalan. All right, so we'll get right to it, and we're actually switching up the format a little bit. You know what? This is a work in progress. We've talked about this before, right? First of all, we're going to be considerate of I know we talk about Destiny a lot, so there's no Destiny this week, so that's a good thing, right? I hope people appreciate that. But if there's ever Destiny talk or anything like that where we're kind of going overboard with it, we'll leave it to the end, and that's if you're interested, right? And we're also we're going to do some news how we've always done, but instead of kind of talking about the same topics over and over, we're also gonna kind of have a section at the end that's updates. So it's just a quick like rundown of, we've talked about this before, but this is how it currently stands. I guess you could say that. But we'll start right away, Dalan. There's more Nintendo news. On the Nintendo front, there's news. The Nintendo Switch Online service is going live in September 2018, which it was already supposed to be live, but all right, now we know officially from the Nintendo Twitter that September 2018. And now they didn't say how much it was going to be. Last time they talked about it, they broke down the pricing that it could be $20 a year, $8 for every 3 months, or $4 per month. They didn't confirm or deny, or they didn't say any pricing. So we'll see what they come up with in September. Other than that, there's a new Mario movie coming from Illumination Entertainment, which is, you know, the Despicable Me guys. The thing with that one is Shigeru Miyamoto is co-producing, so at least we have someone at the helm. So maybe there's some hope. Maybe there's some hope for a good, video game related movie. Other than that, we have they did announce that there's going to be a new Mario Kart Tour. It's going to be a mobile game on iOS, on Android. It's supposed to be out by March 2019. So we'll see, man. I mean, I don't think they've done a multiplayer heavy like Android or iOS game. You know, they did Mario, they did what's the little micromanaging game, whatever it is.
Little micromanaging game. Good job. There's plenty of those.
Where you rent anyway, so they've done this will be the first time, I'm guessing, that it's a Mario Kart Tour, right? That I would think it's an online game, right? And lastly, in this past week, they actually Nintendo Labo. I know how much you're looking forward to that, Dalan. They've said that it's actually going to allow you to do your own like kind of rudimentary programming with a thing called Toy-Con Garage, which is going to be a feature, a mode or an app or whatever they do with it on 420. That it's going to allow you to do your own little programming with the Joy-Con controllers and, you know, use cardboard and program the movements. Kotaku said, when you open up the program, you can select from a number of blocks based on input options for your Switch's controllers, then connect them to other blocks based on output options. For example, you can connect the left Switch controller's up button input to the right Switch controller's vibration feature output. So whenever you press up on the left Joy-Con, the right Joy-Con will buzz. So anything you'd like to add, Dalan, or anything interesting about the Nintendo news, about the
three things. First off, the Nintendo Online, I've actually been curious about this. How would that actually work? Because last I checked,
because
Nintendo
they're terrible.
Because they're terrible.
Yeah, well, I guess the service would be, so last time they talked about it is that they're actually going to offer up a NES Super NES games every month for you to as far as the last time they talked about it, it wasn't for you to permanently keep. So it's not like PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live Gold where you have the game, and as long as you have the subscription, you can have that game forever. How they were saying it was this: you have the game for about a month, and then it goes offline, and then you can't use it again. So it's like very limited how they're doing it. And I mean, maybe that's the reason that last time they talked about this, they said it's gonna be $20 instead of, you know, the $60 we're used to paying on PlayStation Plus. So it's one of those things that you know, they're pretty terrible at it. They got a low barrier to entry, and basically what they did say is that, or what they confirmed was that you'll be able to continue playing online for free until that becomes available. So, you know, anything Mario Kart to ARMS, any other games that you've been able to go online with, you'll still be able to go online with until they launch this, and then, you know, they'll revisit it. Yeah, they'll revisit it, and yeah, I would think at that point you have to pay for it, and at that point you decide if it's worth it, you know. And
well, I would think only newer games would actually have the thing where you're forced to actually pay to play online. So hopefully they actually just make it for the newer games rather than the older games, which are already established in their ways online. So if you end up switching that up, somebody saying, "Hey, it's free online now," and then, "Hey, no, you got to pay for it every month," that would make me very upset.
Then that would be the most logical thing to do. But when you're talking Nintendo, logic is out the window, man. They're gonna do whatever they want. This is whatever feels right to them is what they're gonna do, basically. So, anything else, Dalan? What do you Mario Kart Tour? Are you gonna get that for your Android phone, or will you finally upgrade to an iOS? Will you finally upgrade to an iPhone and get it?
Don't talk about my iPhone. No,
I'm just saying. Right, I'm just saying.
We went through the battle of just getting me a smartphone, but no, I was gonna bring up the Mario movie. By Minions. I mean, what kind of animation are they really going to have? Is it going to be like an actual like Mario-sized person, or is it going to be a human-sized Mario? Is it going to be a funny really cartoon?
Yeah, they didn't really get into it. Yeah, they didn't really get into it, but they kind of, one of the things that they really wanted to make sure to say was that Miyamoto is co-producing. So at the very least, there's somebody at the helm that cares about the project, at least, that cares about the Mario legacy, and we'll see how it turns out. But yeah, other than that, there's no real details, man. About the Labo, are you excited about the Labo? Are you gonna be excited to do a little rudimentary programming, anything like that?
All right, now on the Labo, I'm definitely myself not going to buy this thing. Like, people out there, go buy it. Have a blast with buying your $60 to $80 cardboard.
With your cardboard, yeah, exactly.
But this does
actually I'll probably buy one or two of them. I'll probably buy one or two cardboards, to be honest. So
well, this does open it up for people to just like go buy cardboard boxes that are not Labo and just like makeshift their own things if they're actually pretty good with their hands or cutting up cardboard boxes and putting them together. You know, people who do like artistic stuff. Somebody could literally build their own construct and then reprogram the Labo to do whatever they want.
Yeah, that's what makes it cool, right? That's what makes it cool, that as long as there's that program available, then, you know, people online can be like, you know what? Let me sell you this $5 diagram or layout or whatever, and you can print it out, and this is what you do to make it work on the.
You know what it actually reminds me of? You know what it reminds me of? Smash Brothers. How you can actually create your own arenas. You know what I'm talking about? You can create your own fighting arenas in Smash Brothers. I think it was Melee or something like that. My friend Chris, he created like 1,000 maps for people to be on. But it's just that they put a bunch of boxes in there, and they were so awkwardly there. But you could share it between everybody who shows up online. And I guess
and you figure some of this stuff will be free, right? They'll just like get your own cardboard, and we'll give you the program, or we'll have you figure it out. That's the hope.
Make some stuff and sell it. Let's see what you do with it. You're gonna have people out there making little airplanes that they can put on their Labo and stuff like that. People will come up with actual robots that'll probably walk, and I don't know. People will come up with
We'll see what they could come up with. I look forward to it. I'm cautiously optimistic about it, of course. But I mean, it's cool. It's cool that Nintendo's thinking ahead. And I know, they had a Mario Maker. They had Mario Maker, so they've already kind of given the power to the people, so to speak, as to make your own stuff. So, and like you just mentioned, the Smash Brothers stuff. We've had Nintendo's has kind of been about customization. Now we get to see it kind of. Going to the real world with some
Zelda Breath of the Wild. They even did their Zelda Breath of the Wild. Their little open world. Let's go do whatever you feel like to try and beat these dungeons.
Well, yeah, but
they're moving around. They're moving away.
But that's a sandbox. That's a sandbox, not like create your own world type of thing. But
what I mean is that Nintendo, or at least a lot of Nintendo games, seem to be moving away from the idea of linear gameplay. So that's
what else do we have, Dan? What do you?
Right, so I get what I have on my list for the time being is some Monster Hunter impressions and updates a little bit for people that might have actually gotten turned off the game for a moment. The fact is, Monster Hunter already broke world records in their own sales. Being that I dabbled in Monster Hunter for quite some time.
Well, what were the sales, Dan? How did they break records?
I'm gonna call it slow your roll. Slow your roll. I was just saying.
Tell us how much it sold, man. Tell us how did it break records? What did it sell? I want to know.
It broke records by it sold about 1.35 million physical retail copies out in Japan, where it actually shipped out about 5 million copies worldwide, and so many people bought this game that I was not expecting it to sell as well. I mean, one of the creators of the game,
I think even Capcom was shocked, right? Capcom was shocked.
Well, actually, no. Capcom was not as shocked. Capcom was saying, they were surprised of how quickly it happened, but they were saying that they expect to sell at least 10 million copies, and they seem to be on track to do that. If it only took them 3 days to sell 1.5 million physical copies. So that's just Japan. That's not the UK. That's not America. That's not Australia. I was actually trying to find some news on what it was like in the other countries, but for the most part, the main thing I could say is that it was one of the top sellers in the UK.
Yeah, it's good for Capcom, right? It's good for Capcom. There's they have a big selling Monster Hunter game. I mean, it's always been big selling in Japan on the portables, but now they actually have a big console game, and I believe in the US it's also doing well, right? So it's kind of one of those things where they'll build on it.
Let's just say Western. It's moving westward. But with this game, it did have its one woe, as me and you figured out as we were playing this game. Yeah, it had a couple of technical issues. Apparently, there were some missions that weren't showing up, or monsters that weren't loading properly, or having glitches of their own. Of course, you want to create patches for that, being that it's on Xbox and PS4. But the matchmaking for trying to play with your friends, as it is a major its major selling point was the fact that you could play online with your friends very easily, but the matchmaking was just so hard to do.
Is it exclusive to Xbox? Because I don't. We played it a little bit, and we didn't really have too many issues on PlayStation 4. But are they reporting that it's on both systems, or it's mostly Xbox, or it's both, or?
It was reported that there were matchmaking issues on both systems, but it was much bigger on the Xbox, and people on the Xbox were saying it was due to the fact that they didn't get a beta back in December like the PS4 did.
Get out of here. You'll be all right. You'll be all right.
You'll be all right.
Well, maybe they were right. Maybe they were right.
There was no test run for it on the Xbox for having it be matchmaking. Being that PS4, they probably saw it a little bit, but they still didn't quite hit it. So, I mean, me and you were just trying to play in the same realm, and that was hard enough to do. We had to create a little group through another group and become a part of a clan, and it was a lot of work just to be on the same group. And then we couldn't even go on expeditions together.
Do they have a time when they expect to kind of fix it, or
they actually just sent out a patch this week.
Okay.
So they're hoping that
I gotta go back to it, man. I played some of it. I don't like the expedition nonsense for sure. Hunting down Kevin from Up it's upsetting. And we actually talked about this. The last 2 games I've been playing, man, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday during our regularly scheduled Monopoly match, right? I mentioned you know what, we've been playing Assassin's Creed Origins and Monster Hunter World, and it's I appreciate that they're good games, but they feel like work, man. I don't want to feel like I'm at work playing these games, but eventually we'll go back to Monster Hunter. Do you have some impressions before we move on, Dalan? What do you think of it so far, or have you not dug that deeply to give final impressions on Monster Hunter?
No, for my impression of Monster Hunter, if they could fix the matchmaking and the need to go into expedition by yourself, this would be a just to me like the perfect online game to play with your friends. We've been needing something to replace our Destiny habits
Well, how
with,
about this?
and I
So
think this
far
could
for
do
you,
that.
has it? For you so far, has it kind of replaced the Destiny itch, or you don't think it's at that level? Because you're still dipping in and out of Destiny, right?
Yeah, I'm still dipping in and out of Destiny. It's not necessarily at that level for me, but I know everybody's been playing it, or at
Everybody's
least
playing it, yeah.
everybody on my friends list has been
Yeah.
playing it. So I definitely need to go back to it myself and get my armor with all the bajillions of weapons and armors that you can now get, as they've actually added all kinds of new content to it. And I think that's awesome. At some point, somebody's gonna have to become Ryu and Sakura and run around on that island. Look, you didn't know about this. I see it on your face.
But that's all right.
Being
That's all right. We can get back to that.
All right, we can get back to that. So yeah,
Real
but
quick, you guys mention it. Don't be long winded about it. What is this Rio and whatever you're talking about?
uh, Street Fighter V and Monster Hunter decided to do this whole Capcom coalition thing where you can get costumes from Monster Hunter in Street Fighter V, and you can get armor packs that make you look like Ryu and Sakura in Monster Hunter, and you can do Hadoukens and Shoryukens, and you can start knocking monsters over
So
immediately.
is it similar? Is it similar to the whole Horizon? Hey, Capcom's shameless about this stuff, man. They got the crossover with Horizon. Did you see that? But that's different, right? Horizon's more of a customization option or something like that, right? Is that what
Wait, what do you mean the crossover for it?
Well, with Horizon, you can get one of the little the cats or the mouse or your sidekick. You can dress them up as a Horizon robots. You didn't see this? Well,
Oh yeah.
But that's different than what
no,
you're talking.
yeah, it's not what I'm talking about. In this one, it is an armor set for your main character. You could look exactly like Ryu, and you can just knock monsters over immediately with your Hadouken or your Shoryuken.
All right. So we'll probably dig into it some more. I got to dig into it some more, man. But like I said, these games got to not feel like work. But I'm sure we'll play it. We'll have some more final, impressions for you guys down the road. But in the video game world, there's some controversy right now. There's multiple. There's always controversy. But the recent one that I thought was interesting was Billy Mitchell. I don't know if you ever saw King of Kong, Dalan. There was this movie about two guys. One of them was like a middle school teacher, and then this guy was like a hot sauce connoisseur. He had his own hot sauce. Billy Mitchell, he's like a kind of flamboyant type of character in the video game world. But these two guys were kind of duking it out for Donkey Kong, the original Donkey Kong, the arcade Donkey Kong record. And recently, Billy Mitchell kind of is in some hot water. There's a guy called Jeremy. Pun intended, right? He has his own hot sauce. There's a guy, Jeremy Young, that he runs the Donkey Kong forums, and he actually called into question one of his records. He was saying that he was using I don't know how you would say. Would you say MAME or MAME or MAME emulator, right? Well, however you want to pronounce it. Is it Mame? Okay, so Engadget, one of the websites, said that this guy Young actually put it into question, right? He said playing Donkey Kong through Mame isn't problematic in itself, but there are strict verifications for Mame high score attempts that check that the run was, for example, human controlled and performed in one continuous playthrough. If the allegations Young has brought to Twin Galaxies, which Twin Galaxies is kind of the big time record holders, kind of a directory for that.
Yeah, they're kind of like Guinness Book of World Records of video games.
Well, it's Guinness Book of Records uses Twin Galaxies to determine these are the high scores. So it's respected enough. But he submitted that to that, and he brought it to their attention. And if Billy Mitchell didn't go through these checks, he says he also hit the fact that he wasn't playing on official hardware. The evidence for the allegations is complex and largely centers on frame rate analysis and an apparent misrotation of the play screen. But taken as a whole, it appears quite damning, is what Engadget said. And Twin Galaxies actually responded. They brought out their own statement saying, Twin Galaxies is in the process of fully reviewing the compelling evidence provided by Jeremy Young to support his current score dispute case against Billy Mitchell's Donkey Kong score. We will do this thoroughly and impartially. In the meantime, we will continue to observe this discussion by experts in the community, and will also examine any further evidence that may be provided during this review period. So Twin Galaxies hasn't taken away his record yet, but they're investigating. I don't know. It seems... I mean, I don't know the technicalities on it. Maybe you can enlighten us a bit more, Dalan. But to me, it's like there's a lot of caveats already. It's kind of like Mame, but then the guy Young, he actually has a record using Mame. So he's using an emulator versus the original cabinet, right, is what they're saying.
Right.
But I guess Twin Galaxies is okay with that as long as you're saying that you're using the emulator and that you're going through all these checks.
If you inform them ahead of time and you actually use the regulation frame rates because they wanted to actually match everybody at the same time, they want it to be fair, because a millisecond can make one heck of a difference. I forgot what game it was recently, but somebody broke a record after 12 years or something like that of somebody else because they beat it by 1 second.
Yeah, so it matters. It does matter.
It does matter. So I mean, it comes down to milliseconds for some of these games because people actually do keep track of this, and just a glitch in the frame rate or a skipping of a frame could really make a huge difference when it comes to trying to use
the only thing about
emulation is not working properly.
Yeah, the only thing about the emulation is that emulators aren't 100%, right? So that's kind of, to me, that's just the weird. I mean, I guess if to them you're saying up front, I'm using an emulator. But then at that point, it's kind of like, well, wouldn't you have your own list of records that you're using emulation versus the original hardware? But, well, how about this? Do you feel like an emulator is, well, I mean, it depends on the emulator, right? Who wrote the emulator, what it is. But do you feel so far, based on the emulators that have come out, they emulate strong enough and, strong enough in a way where, sure, you could use it as a substitute for an original arcade cabinet?
That's one of the, well, I'm not going to get into all the technical specifics of it, but for the most part,
and we thank you as listeners.
I find that using the emulators are pretty much just like the real thing. And even for some of the smaller systems like the Game Boy and the DS, being able to use an emulator and blow up your screen and have it on a bigger screen, I appreciate that very much so. And you still get the same speed, frame rate, and sometimes better graphics. So, I mean, the emulation itself can actually work out just as well. I mean, pick up a controller, plug it into your computer, or hook it up to whatever little system that you have. I mean, what is it? The NES Classic? I think that's what it's called. That everybody
it's like some convoluted name, like Nintendo Selects Classics NES or some nonsense. But the mini one, right?
The mini, the Super Nintendo
whatever
mini,
it's called.
Those are
they're
just platforms. They're just platforms that are emulators. They are not the original system.
On an Android chip. On an Android chip.
So it's the same concept. Yeah. I mean, you could actually still have it. You just have to do it on an official capacity and make sure it works properly. That's it.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, if anything, this serves as a PSA to go back and watch King of Kong. It's excellent, man. That movie's good. Whether there was cheating involved, it's actually where the term came, where it's like kill screen coming up. They're in the middle of interviewing a guy, and he can hear it. He can hear it in his, he has, they're masters of these games, right? They've heard them. They know what they look like and everything. He's like, he's in the middle of an interview, and then he goes, kill screen coming up. Kill screen coming up, and then he's looking around, and he has to go back to it. But so go back. I don't think you've seen it, right? Then you got to check it out, man. It's a good movie.
I haven't, but I haven't watched it. I need to get into that at some point.
All right. So we'll move on. What else do we have, Dalan?
Another thing that we have on the list. This is more so a rumor, but it's kind of a big rumor, and it's kind of been a controversial subject simply because it is a rumor. I guess there are people out there that don't necessarily want it to happen, being that Microsoft may be buying EA, potentially also Valve and the PUBG server.
They're buying everyone. They're buying everyone. They don't care.
They're buying a bunch of people.
They don't discriminate.
Okay. So the Microsoft Xbox One's platform is making ambitious moves, but it's still behind the massively successful PS4. I mean, period. You could just look at it.
Well, yeah, 2-1. Yeah, Microsoft hasn't released any sales in like the longest time, but it's generally an accepted truth, quote unquote truth, that they're 2-1. They're behind 2-1
they are behind. We know that PS4 is currently winning. But a new report from the gaming site Polygon says Microsoft is looking at this major acquisition just to help the Xbox group. I mean, we actually talked about it before, the fact that Xbox, or at least Microsoft, was talking about making, in-house games to try to actually improve their boost their.
They're trying to go back to
Xbox.
Yeah, they're trying to go back to first party, which is what they had done before, but they kind of had moved away from that and kind of relying on third party development companies. But now they're like, we should probably be more serious about our first party. So.
Yeah, well, honestly, I hope they don't I hope they don't acquiesce EA simply because PS4 also has EA games on it, and if that all goes exclusive to Xbox,
I like that you said acquiesce. I think you mean acquire, right? But that's fine.
Well, acquire is I'm using the term itself.
Yeah.
I used it right, so don't give me that.
That's fair. That's fair.
But the fact is, if they do acquire EA, then PS4 and even the Switch would have a very large lack of Star Wars games or any other major games like that coming up for the other systems. I mean, because EA also includes a lot of sports games.
Yeah, they do a lot of stuff. They do a lot of stuff. Yeah,
they have their hands in. They have their hands in all cookie jars. And if Microsoft buys the cookie jar and the hands that come with it, then we're gonna lose some stuff.
Yeah, it would be bad ultimately for gamers, but good for Microsoft, you know, because in an acquisition of EA, yeah, they get sports, they get the Star Wars license just by way of the license they already have from Disney. So, you know, they get that and they get all these exclusives. So it would be good for Microsoft, and it would definitely move some people over, or at least have people consider buying an Xbox because they can't get Madden on PlayStation or the Switch anymore. So,
well, that'll come down to our story later on. So for right now, we're gonna move from that. We'll come back to that later. What do you got for us, Carlos? You got another one?
Actually, I have it's actually it's kind of along the same lines. It's a new book came out called Game of X, and they talk about leading up to the OG Xbox. So this is like the 2001 Xbox. So in 1999, you know, 2 years prior, they were already working on this stuff. And at some point, they were, according to the book, they were actually in talks to acquire Square. Well, now Square Enix, right? But I think pre-2000, they were still Square. So
Squaresoft.
Squaresoft. So Microsoft was, you know, that means they would have acquired the rights to Final Fantasy series and all this other stuff. According to the book, it said it was November 1999. There was a deal on the table, and Steve Ballmer, Clippers owner, who was in Japan on a sales tour, attended a celebratory dinner the night before the final meeting. However, it was at the final meeting that the CEO of Square, who at the time would have been Hisashi Suzuki, stood up and said there was an error. Suzuki reportedly said that before we sign, our banker would like to say something, which at that point, the banker declared, we want more money. Apparently right there on the spot, Square doubled their price. According to Square, the valuation of the company had some errors, declaring that it was actually worth more money than the deal proposed. Head of Xbox hardware, Rick Thompson, revealed that Square wanted something like $1.5 billion for half the company, which caused Microsoft to balk. The deal was called off. So, you know, they were pretty close to making a deal and buying Square, which, you know, Square's kind of one of those up and down companies, right? I mean, Final Fantasy did work. It's been a success, but it took them like 17 years to make, right? Finally. So, you know, maybe it was fine because they did buy Rare from Nintendo, and, you know, the Rare deal, I don't know how many hits really. They really haven't had many hits under Rare. So it's probably a good thing that they didn't buy Square. What do you think? Do you think it would have, that means you would have had to have bought, instead of a PS2, PS3, you would have had to have bought an Xbox at some point, right? Because you're an RPG fan of Final Fantasy. Yeah. So are you glad that this didn't go through? You would have.
Oh, I'm very glad that it didn't go through because I appreciate the way that the Sony consoles have actually come out. I mean, Xbox probably would have went a different route with as much money as they would have been making on their games. But then again, the Xbox consoles, the way that they're actually built, aren't necessarily built for these type of JRPGs. So I'm still fine with the fact that they didn't acquire Sony in that. So
apparently they try to acquire Nintendo. I don't know if it was Thompson, but I saw somewhere in this story that they went to visit Nintendo, right? So this was before an Xbox. So, you know, they weren't in competition yet. In 1999, there was no Xbox. There was nothing. There was just a Microsoft spokesperson or a representative from Microsoft.
Talking about, right? Hey, we're probably going to get in the game. I think this was around the time
and Nintendo was still there. Nintendo, well, you know, Nintendo's like, sure, we'll take a meeting with you guys. And I guess this guy, I don't know if it was Thompson, like I said, or someone else from Microsoft. He's like, he said he was just kind of doing the arrogant American thing, and he was like, can we buy you guys? I want to buy you guys. And Nintendo scoffed. Of course they scoffed. They're Nintendo, man. They're huge. But, you know, so that one didn't get off the ground as much as this Square one, because this Square one, it was going to come down to a accounting error, man. They're talking about, wait, our company's worth more than we thought it was, which is ridiculous, right? To think about. It's like, we kind of misplaced the decimal. We can't sell it to you anymore. So, but yeah, so Nintendo was sort of in play. I don't even think they were in play, though, to be honest. It's just interesting to, before the Xbox, Microsoft was like, let's do this. And I don't know if you remember, but during the OG Xbox, they made a big Japanese push. They had the Jet Grind Radio sequel that was on Xbox, and they had that Panzer Dragoon Orta. Shenmue 2 came out on the OG Xbox. So there was a big push, and then Microsoft at this point, they're kind of like, we don't even try in Japan anymore. It's like we have it available. If you guys want it, if there's the one or two people that want it, sure, get it. But I'm pretty sure they don't even advertise. They don't really push too hard in Japan anymore. But speaking of Xbox, then what's the next thing we got on the list here?
Well, the next thing we have on the list was the thing that I was actually going to come back to, was the Xbox and their consoles and their sales actually being up or down. Being in this case, UK indie stores have chosen, or at least they may choose, to stop carrying Xbox consoles because of the Game Pass.
and you read up on it, right? Last time you kind of let me holding the bag. You left me holding the bag. And I was like, Dylan, it's kind of a big deal. But now you know, right? You can tell us why would these companies?
Okay. Well, I don't have an Xbox, so I didn't really need to follow it myself. But just understanding the concept itself definitely helps when it comes to a podcast like this. So when I did read up on it, apparently last week, or actually a week and a half ago now, because we kind of lagged.
Don't worry about it. Then continue.
A week and a half ago, Microsoft announced that that they will now be doing first-party releases, which will be included in the subscription in the Xbox Game Pass service from launch. This includes Sea of Thieves, Crackdown 3, State of Decay, probably some other new games that are going to be coming out. But this really upset a lot of retailers, and I'm pretty sure it's going to impact e-retailers having it be that way. Because even one Australian retailer, Gameware, they argued that if every Xbox sale is essentially equips the customers with access to a service as increasingly comprehensive as the Game Pass, repeat business with those customers is very minimal. Why would they head to Gameware when they can subscribe and get new Xbox release automatically? I mean, having all the new games on that service for $10 a month versus going to the store and buying it for $15 or $20 brand new as an actual retail service, or coming back to that store. Why would you even need to go back to that store? It's all online, and you get a whole 100 games.
I do appreciate how spicy the conversation got. I don't know if you saw it, maybe you did, but I saw someone or one store, they're like, we don't even sell enough Xbox to care, man. Whatever. I don't know if you saw that somewhere along while you were researching.
I did not see that.
But you know what this reminded me of? This reminded me of the GameStop use pass. Remember we talked about it, how I was looking forward to it, man. I don't think they're going to go back to it. There's no peep, no nothing. They haven't spoken on it.
Yeah, you're talking about the fact that it came up and went away.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me a little bit. It's different, right? Because this is from the publisher end, or this from the hardware manufacturer's end, that they're trying to kind of push away from the, a reliance on GameStop, or I believe it's Game in the UK is the big one, but they also have GameStop over there.
But it's like they're trying to push out retailers altogether, and that kind of hurts their business.
Yeah, no, and that's understandable, right? They're like, why would people – because I already see it that way. Sea of Thieves is like, for example, right? That's the game that they're going to launch this type of program with is – why would I spend $40-$60 on this game that's like multiplayer only when I can do $10 a month, and then Crackdown's coming down the pipe? I was like, why would I spend $60 on that? I just spend $10 a month, cancel it if it, there's no games that interest me. But, like Netflix, it's one of those things you're probably going to forget, right? It's like a subscription model. That's why they love it so much, because it's like, it's $10, and people, even if they're like, you know what, I'll try it out for a month, they end up trying it for 12 months or 13 months because they forget to cancel it. It just gets lost in the billing statement, So, to me, it's like, I understand. I understand why the stores would be kind of upset, because they're kind of pushing them out that way, I mean, and the GameStop thing is kind of on the other end, or it more affects Microsoft or Sony or Nintendo or EA. It affects them because they're like, dude, you guys are just going to keep recycling these used games. Like that's so, this goes to show you that there's a relationship. There's a symbiotic relationship between the retailer and Xbox and Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo. And sometimes they clash, and I love it. It gets spicy.
Well,
it gets spicy. Man. I enjoy this.
There was one comment I came across because a lot of independent UK retailers were very upset about it. But one, Stuart Benson from Extreme Games said, essentially, it's made our Xbox business worthless overnight.
Yeah.
we should only support them. Why would we support them if we get very little out of it? So I mean, they're making complete sense. And I know you were talking about the fact that they have their own Netflix style thing. So the one good thing that may actually come out of having this Netflix, this Xbox Game Pass service, whatever you want to call it, is the ability to promote first-person games or single-player games. That's a huge one because, you know, the prices for single-player games are starting to seem outrageous to people who don't really play single-player games, or people don't play single-player games as much as they used to.
Well, we've talked about it before, man. $60 is relatively cheap. You know, over time, we've, you know, we talk about it in our own personal text chats. It's $60 is relatively cheap. So I don't think that's the problem. Yeah, maybe it is a problem because it's still $60, right?
Yeah.
But I think that
if you're just paying $10 a month and you still get the game, hey.
Well, yeah. Well, more of the problem, I think, is on the developing end, where games are just getting astronomically expensive to make. So to them, they're like, you know what, we're gonna sell it for 60. We don't even get 60. We get $42, but these games go half on sale all the time, so we really don't get any money. So, and I think this past what it is they're kind of trading, right? So they're trading. The hope is that instead of 5 million people buying a $60 copy, they're hoping that 50 million people pay $10 a month. Yeah, it's kind of the Netflix thing. Of course, the thing is, Netflix is dead, but apparently they're successful. So I don't know. I mean, I'm all for this, man. This is why I like the competition and the fact that usually the underdog is the one making crazy moves because they're just trying to not be underdogs. So, like with Sony, we saw Sony with the PS3. They were doing terribly, and we got incredible deals. We got like the whole 6 people can be on one account, so you can share your whole library with up to 6 people. And now they switched it around a little bit, right? So the top dog is always kind of like, for example, on PlayStation 4, the Rocket League, right? Sony doesn't want to crossplay with anybody. They barely allowed PC players to crossplay, but yet on Nintendo and on Xbox, you can crossplay with PC or amongst each other. So, the guy that's up top kind of makes the rules, and the underdog tries to make crazy moves like a Game Pass to get ahead, or to try to, they can do it, they got to take risks.
Or acquiring EA.
Yeah. So, right, what do you think, Derek? Can we move on?
Oh, yeah.
So what we're gonna do is just updates, kind of, get the. We'll see if Dalan has anything to say, but we're just gonna run through this quickly. Right. These are big deal. Actually, the first one's a big deal. I wanted to put it up top, but that's fine. Red Dead Redemption 2 turns out it's going to be out October 26th. That means it was delayed from spring 2018. And like I had amongst our own conversations, like they just dropped the bomb in October, man. They just dropped the bomb. Now everyone's trying to scurry away, trying to get out of Red Dead Redemption's blast radius. So, Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm excited. October 26th. A lot of games are not excited. Trust me, a lot of games are not excited right now. But what do you think, Dalan? Are you excited about Red Dead Redemption 2?
It's like I'm ready for it, but I'm not as excited as other people. I'm not like waiting on pins and needles for it. I'm just ready for it. Let it come out. I will play this game. I will buy it.
We're gonna play online, Dalan. That game will not feel like work. I hope so, man. These games, they gotta stop feeling like work, man.
That'll work. That's what it's gonna.
Well, GTA is good though. GTA is fun. It's just it doesn't have its hooks in me. Maybe I do want it to be more like work. I don't know. So the other thing, Switch outsells the Wii U in 10 months, which it's kind of awesome, I guess. And it kind of signals how big of a failure Wii U was, that the Switch can outsell the Wii U in 10 months, what it took, the Wii U to sell in 4 years. So, that's one thing.
I saw that coming. We all saw it coming.
When it's flying off the shelves. We didn't see it coming beforehand. Don't be trying to predict that you saw the Switch being a phenomenal success. But we saw it coming.
Actually, no, I'm talking about once the Switch dropped and it kept selling out often at the very beginning. Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, the Wii U is not going to stand up to the Switch whatsoever. The Switch is going to definitely.
The Wii U was definitely not selling like hotcakes at all. You know, I bought it day one though. I bought it day one in the most expensive version, but it turns out it's just my daughter's YouTube machine. That's really what it ultimately came down to. So Anthem, we did talk about the delay for Anthem, but now they actually EA officially said that they're delaying Anthem to early 2019. I would have guessed, fall 2019, but early 2019. That means we'll get it earlier. That means we'll have our Destiny replacement possibly, hopefully, sooner than Destiny 3, before that comes out. And this was according to EA's chief financial officer, Blake Jorgensen. He said, despite moving the release date to 2019, he says, quote, "It's not a delay. Instead, EA views the move as an opportunity to give Anthem a chance to get more attention as a new property than if it was forced to compete in a more crowded fall marketplace," which, I mean, in a way, it's good. That means, I hope this is what they're saying, is that it's complete. They're just some more spit and shine. Hopefully that's it. And it always helps to have a little bit more time.
You over there revving up motorcycles, Carlos?
As people outside, man. People outside right now. They're really going hard right now. So what do you think, Dalan? You excited about Anthem?
Well, honestly, the fact that I'm excited about Anthem is not the question, because yes, I am definitely ready for Anthem. That one I'm excited about and been anticipating, and then they pushed it back, and I was a little upset about that. But I'll live with a little bit longer.
Well, you have Red Dead Redemption coming out in the fall now, so we won't miss it too much.
Hey, yeah, I'll have something that'll hold me off until Anthem comes out. But when Anthem does come out, or the fact that Anthem got pushed back, I mean, I think I touched base on it during one of the previous podcasts, is the fact that they had I'm pretty sure that their reason for pushing it back is because they gave themselves such a limited time to be able to work on this game. Because when they announced it, it was fall of last year, and they were talking about it's going to come out fall of this year. It was less than a year to be able to actually complete the game and do all of its promotions and sales and everything. They didn't have no time to fine tune it or nothing like that. With the pushback, it gives them more time to work on it. Hopefully, they're still putting money into it.
Yeah, based on their statement, they're kind of saying they just want to get it out of the way. And this was before before Rockstar dropped that bomb on them. So, I hope that means, like I said, I hope that means it's complete and they're just going to, spit and shine and get it a little nicer for us and ready to go when the spring. I would think we'd get a beta, maybe, maybe early next year, or maybe during the fall we get a beta, maybe December, maybe it's a Christmas beta. I know the Christmas beta this last year was a Monster Hunter, Dalan. So maybe
I know, but no, if it's gonna release in April, it's probably gonna be like end of January, early February.
So on that same call, they basically, our favorite subject, we touched on it like. This was at the beginning stages of our podcast, Dalan, so we're going back. The loot boxes in Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2 are coming back. Sarah E. Needleman from the Wall Street Journal quotes Blake Jorgensen as saying that the reinstatement is coming, quote, in the next few months. We'll do it when we think it's ready. So just so you guys know, those things are coming back. You just never do away with them, man. And apparently the stock went up, so stockholders are not too upset. Disney is probably kind of like looking at them with the side eye, and the Star Wars series is kind of, apparently it's been declining a little bit. So, we'll see if Disney's like, you know what, you guys already upset the base. Do not mess with the base anymore. Don't bring it back.
The Star Wars fad is starting to wane off, but people are still into Star Wars. So.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if they really bring it back and how they bring it back. We'll see. The next thing, Yakuza 6 is delayed a month from March 20th to April 17th. Now, the cool thing is there's a demo coming February 27th, and it will actually allow you to transfer that save into the full game in case you're interested. So I'm going to mess with the demo. And I love that cover, man. I love the cover art with the baby, the girl holding the baby at the cover. It's amazing. But are you looking forward to Yakuza?
Well, I definitely want to try this demo out because I've seen the way that the other Yakuza games have come out. And I know you've been really talking up Yakuza, talking about you guys are missing out on this. It is the replacement that we had for Shinmu, and people should be on this.
It's the argument I make all the time, man. People are like, oh, when's the Shenmue sequel? Like, you have the Shenmue sequel. They've made 5 of them. It's called Yakuza. Go play that, and it's better. And the fighting is amazing. And you go into shops and you can buy pieces of candy,
All right.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I still got to play through. Honestly, the last one I played was Yakuza 3, so I kind of have some catching up to do. But I think this is still an awesome series, and if you guys haven't tried it, there goes your Shenmue sequel. Stop waiting for this Shenmue 3. And Shenmue 3 I actually dropped $60 for, Dalan, and based on the updates, like, look at what we've been doing. It's like, this is what you've been doing? What did I throw $60 towards? But You
He's
know,
not real upset about this.
when you go to Kickstarter, well, yeah, because the updates are terrible. It's like, look at Ryu's face. We fixed his face. I'm like, what did you fix? This thing still looks terrible. So, but I it's a Kickstarter. I was like, you know what? If I lose my $60, I lose my $60. So whatever does come out, it's probably gonna be like a budget title that they're gonna try to sell off for $60 and whatever, man. I'll just go back to Yakuza and put away Shenmue as a relic in time or something. So the final update for this week, Ubisoft pulls back on Rainbow Six Siege, the $20 price hike. And I know we actually published our podcast last week, Dylan, like right as we published, they actually had pulled back. So, you know, we were like, you know what? We already recorded. We're not going to re-record. But anyway, so Ubisoft on Reddit said, for our newcomers and those of you concerned about introducing your friends to the game, we will be keeping the standard edition in the store at the current price. And this in Game Industry, this was the story on GameIndustry.biz. They said, however, while the standard edition will remain at $40, the game's other editions will keep their higher price points. The gold edition will cost $90, a $20 increase, and the price of the complete edition will increase by $40 to $130. Whoa. Okay, so that's what's happening.
You tripped out on
So that's what's happening, man.
I saw the surprise in your face mid-podcast.
So the base game is fine. They're not gonna touch it. It's gonna be $40, which is kind of high still, man, for a 3-year-old game. But you know, they're gonna mess with the other.
Hey, there are plenty of games that are 3 years old that have actually had their own set price. I mean, when did it come out? Neo, that one Samurai game. When did that come out?
That came out like beginning of last year, I believe. Yeah.
You sure? Well, still, it seems like
beginning of last year.
That game did not drop in price.
Well, the only games that really. Well, if they're rare, but really the only games you could ever say they call them evergreen are Nintendo games. They'll stay $60 on the Wii. If you ever try to buy like new Super Mario Brothers from the launch of the Wii, it was still, well, I don't know if it wasn't from the launch, right? It was a couple years later. But years down the line, still $50, still $60, you know.
You go and buy Mario Kart 64 for the Nintendo 64, that game is still $40.
Yeah, so Nintendo's really the only games that are evergreen. So it's a little surprising when these guys are talking about, wait, you're gonna raise the price? Not even Nintendo raises the price, man. They just keep it the same at least. They don't raise the price. So there was enough backlash to where it mattered, and they're gonna step back. So it's a good thing. They're listening, but still a little shady.
I need to pick up the game before they change their mind.
But there's still a little shadiness, right? Where they're going from going to 40 to what? You're still raising the other editions of the game. So.
But still, my statement on that is that I need to pick up that game before they change their mind again. So I know that they've been messing up just a little bit with some of their games, or at least their pricing. I mean, they have the right to do that. And again, people will go buy it even if they raise the price.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to buy it for a higher price of what it originally came out as. At some point, I need to pick this game up. I mean, I've been watching people online.
I know one of our friends has been waiting for us to get on it. So yeah, if you grab it, then we have to play it, right? That'll just be in the rotation of Monopoly, Rocket League, and Rainbow Six that we'll play. Dalan, so before we go, I know you had kind of final impressions, I believe, of Dragon Ball Z Fighters. Is that the case?
Well, I finally had a chance. I finally had a chance to really get into the game. Well, with the exception that I didn't actually go back to the story. I kind of let that sit aside. But I finally got to play some online matches because I actually sat down and took the time to really fight. And I got to really get used to the mechanics. I haven't actually gotten all 7 Dragon Balls yet to be able to summon in the middle of a match because that's much harder to do than I expected it to be. Though I have seen it happen once. It doesn't happen too often. People are in there trying to battle and get their Dragon Balls by doing these massive attacks on the other characters. But those matches actually turned out to be shorter than people expected. It's very Marvel vs. Capcom-y. And really, the buttons are more simple.
You're coming over to finish watching the Super Bowl, right? Bring Dragon Ball Z. Just for us. I know I know the listeners don't care, right? This is out of but bring it over so we can play it. But continue.
Right,
Sorry.
I'll bring it over. But it's you should have just said that afterwards. But the fact being,
I might have forgotten.
No matter how many times I put the game down and pick the game up, that game looks clean. It plays smooth, and it with as simple as the buttons are, You can button mash in that game, but it's just better to not button mash. So the game is still fun regardless if you're a newcomer or not. So I had a conversation with one of my friends about whether or not they should pick up Tekken 7. I was like, you're not a fighting game person. If you're going to pick up a fighting game, go get Dragon Ball Z. So it's a very fun game, and I don't think I'm going to trade it anytime soon. Dragon Ball Xenoverse, I played that out, traded it back in. Dragon Ball Fighter Z, I think I'm going to hold on to this one for a little bit.
All right, so you're happy with this one, how this one turned out based on. Yes. I mean, the only thing is there's been some crappy Dragon Ball Z games just recently, right? They've been getting better with Budokai and all those games. They were decent games, right? But
Budokai, whoa! You just kind of blew over the other games.
Decent, Dalan, I said decent. I didn't say it's an amazing game. But does the new one blow anything else that has come before? Is what I'm asking, I guess.
Okay, so Dragon Ball Z Budokai 1 OG. Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2 was not the greatest. Dragon Ball Budokai 3 was almost perfection when it came to a Dragon Ball Z fighting 3D game. So once they made Budokai 3, it was kind of hard to beat that. I mean, there are people out there that say Tenkaichi was probably the best one that ever came out, but in reality, they completely changed the mechanics, and it was terrible.
Let me put it to you another way, because you're ready. What's the best one, including the new Dragon Ball Fighters? What's the best Dragon Ball game?
The best Dragon Ball game, not Dragon Ball, just fighting.
Come on, man! Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball, whatever you want to call it. What is the best in that style? In that Akira Toriyama or whatever his name is? What is the best game in your opinion so far?
Okay, so this is definitely up there.
Just tell me one.
No, but there was one that came out.
What they want.
There was Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Fighter 22 that came out on Super Nintendo, and that was just great. That was
the best one. Is that the best one? Then what's the best one?
It is.
Really? I played that, man. On that was terrible game. Anyway, we're gonna. You know what? I'm upset now. We're gonna end it on that. Dan, thank you for joining me. I guess I'm Carlos Macias. You can find me on Twitter at DuceClean. Dalan, where can they find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Twitter at _Zaysha_. So again, thanks for joining us. Come back again.
Ultimate Dalan 22, man. That game was terrible. Hey, it was that was a good game. You played it with the PlayStation pad, or
no. I'm sorry. No. That was the PlayStation 1 game. There was one that came out for the Super Nintendo. I currently can't remember the name of it.
Terrible, man. Are you better than this new one that looks fancy and it's epic and everything?
No. Like I said, this one is like up there, but it's like Budokai 3, this one, and the one that came out for Super Nintendo. They're like tied up there. Okay, that's what they're tied.
I feel like I don't even know you. I don't even feel like I know you anymore. I don't even feel like I know you, man.
No, right when I said it, I was like, I don't think that's the game I'm talking about. It's the one that came out for Super Nintendo. I just can't remember the name of it now for some reason.
For shame.
So long since I played it. So.